I'm a student of politics, but I'm also a student of this life, which is really not a bad idea for anybody to be. And I mean anybody. It doesn't matter what you do for a living, because there are very many valuable lessons you can learn from being observant, just being casually observant of what is happening in our Kenyan politics. Now, the administration of William Samoei Ruto has exposed some very valuable lessons which are worth taking in, which are worth taking note of and implementing in one's life. Ruto's administration has shown us, for you to be successful in any job, the first rule is that never take a job so casually that you think it is so easy, that you think you're so good you'll manage. That usually can be a tragic mistake. And maybe it is just people's character. Because number 3, Kenya's third president, Emilio Stanley Mwai Kibaki, falls into the same category, of having to go through a major reality check once landing in State House. Mwai Kibaki made a lot of campaign promises. Those of us who are around remember them. Top of the list was zero tolerance to corruption. And there are a lot of other promises Kenyans loved Kibaki for, and were sure Kibaki was going to implement, because indeed he was serious. And indeed, in the first few weeks, he was in State House, he looked serious. But then, political reality overtook things. And of course, the rest is history. Anyway, let us focus on the current administration. Now, as I make this recording, the Ruto administration has a very serious, and I mean a very serious, cash crunch. Now, how it's being handled already does not inspire confidence. Let me give you a quick example. In a recent statement, Azimio told Kenyans civil servants have not been paid for a long time. Ruto appointment, who is also the Kikuyu MP, Kimani Ichung'wah, shot back very quickly, mocking Azimio, telling them that they were wrong. Salaries were already in the bank, etc., etc. Now, what is wrong with that? Because it seems that the focus of the UDA government is appearances, rather than dealing with the problem. Actually, it's a very serious crisis on hand. Better to keep quiet, roll up your sleeves, and get to work. And it is almost amusing, because within the same UDA government, economic advisor to Ruto, David Ndii, has appeared on a local TV talk show, and he has told us in clear English, the government is broke. The government is in a very serious financial crunch. So what is Ichung'wah doing? What would be the purpose of such a statement? To prove to Kenyans that all is well, that nothing is happening? These perception governments, these propaganda governments, these governments which are so concerned with appearances, I don't know. And we're all affected. At the end of the day, you and I, every Kenyan is affected, by this clownish show going on at the highest level of the Kenyan government. Oh, God have mercy. But I'm very determined to approach this video positively, from a positive angle. And I'm sure you're wondering, positive angle how? Positive angle because some strengths of number 4, the previous President Uhuru Kenyatta, have now come out clearly for all to see. And in case you've not seen it yet, let me just lay it bare. The style of appointment of former President Uhuru Kenyatta and the style of making appointments of current President William Samoei Ruto are as different as darkness and light. Okay? William Ruto goes for loyalty first and what somebody has done for UDA before looking at the qualifications and the ability of somebody to get the job done. Indeed, there is evidence that the president does not even look at the track record of somebody who's going to appoint. Others, had he looked at the track record of his chief economic advisor, Dr. David Ndii, he may have had a second thought. Let me just leave it at that. Because you see, at the end of the day, when you want a job done, somebody has to come with proof that they've done it elsewhere before and it worked. Not once, not twice, several times. When former President Uhuru Kenyatta insisted on appointing Joseph King as head of the civil service, many Kenyans were puzzled, including myself. I posed the question, can't we find a young man somewhere, or a younger man, who can effectively fill in this post? Surely. And this was interesting because his predecessor, Emilio Stanley Mwai Kibaki, had also settled for another grandfather for this seat, a man called Francis Kirimi Mudaura. I'm sure some of you can remember him. He was head of the civil service. Now, I started this video by telling you I'm a student and I've learned a few things since that time. I was criticizing President Kibaki and President Uhuru for appointing old men. It seems that the post of head of the civil service is similar to what I'm doing currently. You need to have a lot of history. You need to have been there. You need to already know so many things about so many people and so many departments of government. Now, you know there's no substitute to experience. And that is why appointing somebody completely new on the scene, like in the case of the latest appointment by Ruto, to head the civil service, a man called Felix Koske, you're bound to have huge problems. Not because of the ability of the person, but because the person does not have the necessary experience, depth required for this particular post. And so while Ruto has always gone for loyalty, President Uhuru Kenyatta always went for the best possible person for the job. Or, in another case, the best appointment to solve a persistent problem with that particular post. And I'm going to give you two perfect examples. When Uhuru appointed a man called George Kinoti, many people within the police force, many people within the security sector who understood, marveled at the genius of this appointment. Why? Because Kinoti had a track record of fighting crime. And more importantly, Kinoti had proved on many instances that it was impossible to corrupt him. And indeed, this second quality that he had always frustrated his promotion, believe it or not, within the police force. And I can personally testify to that because my late dad, my political lecturer, was frustrated on many instances just because he was as straight as a ruler. One of the sad things in our country, but absolutely true. What President Uhuru was looking for was a brand new image of the DCI, because previous holders of the office were very, very fishy individuals. And in my opinion, he succeeded because George Kinoti shone like a star. Until of course people came in with other priorities and other ideas about the DCI. And so here we are today. Let me just leave it at that. The second appointment is even more fascinating. You see, after the 2010 brand new constitution for Kenya was passed, people in State House, people in government could already foresee a very serious problem. Because by making the office of the public prosecutor independent, what it meant was that there was the danger of the holder of this office being so kichwangumu that they would ignore advice from the office of the president and from government and from the security sector. Let me elaborate. You see, security overrides everything. So you have an intelligence officer somewhere who in the course of their duty broke the law, okay, did one or two things they should not have done, but it was all for national security. I'm not saying it's right, I'm saying these are the things that happen every day. And so you have a director of public prosecutions who doesn't want to know. Now, the appointment of Nuruddin Haji was significant because Nuruddin Haji had previously spent most of his working career within, wait for this one, the National Intelligence Service. And so Uhuru Kenyatta, by this single appointment, solved that problem. Because the director of public prosecutions, even without being told, would know this particular case. Prosecuting, leave it alone. Why? For the sake of national security. Former President Uhuru Kenyatta's appointments were inspiring. Current President William Samoei Ruto's appointments, I don't know what word to use. No offense intended, I'm just talking facts. And so in this kind of scenario, should it surprise anybody that the Kenyan government is in such a serious financial crisis? In this kind of situation, should it surprise anybody that barely after 2 weeks in office, the Ruto administration was contacting former head of the civil service Joseph Kinyua to come and assist Bwana Felix Koske, to come and teach him a thing or two, to come and steady the Ruto State House? Is it any wonder? In my opinion, no. Those are things you should expect when you have a certain style of making appointments. Now, to be fair to Ruto, number 2, Kenya's second president, Daniel Toroitich arap Moi, used to make appointments precisely the way Ruto is making them. Yeah, and somehow used to get away with it. There are very few instances where the president ran into problems or was embarrassed. So what was the difference? I'll tell you. The difference was that Moi knew which departments, which appointments not to joke with, and which appointments to play around with. And for you to have that information, you need a wealth of experience in government, which I'm afraid the current president does not have. Or at the very least, he does not have it in as much quantity as former President Daniel Toroitich arap Moi had it. And that is why as a country today, we're in crisis. Indeed, the crisis in government is so serious that there is the possibility that in the end, it may not be Azimio who bring down this government, but the Ruto administration itself will bring itself down because of too many blunders leading to too many serious problems and crises. Now, just a quick reminder, latest weekly intelligence briefings, there's an amazing offer. An amazing Easter offer. which is available only during this holiday season. So if you've not taken advantage of it, I know already many of you have, but in case you haven't, please rush and take advantage of it. Because as I've indicated in an early analysis, after Easter, kutakuwa action after action after action. And a lot of the information, I suspect, will be highly sensitive. So for you to stay on top of the situation, I highly recommend that you subscribe to my weekly intelligence briefings. Until next time, this is Chris Kumekucha.